Okay, with the Eibishter's help.
Thank you. Yeah.
Today's daf is Masechta Baba Kamma Daf Lamites. We're beginning from the Mishnah. Okay, Zog dem Heilige Mishnah. Okay.
Yeah.
Zog the Heilige Mishnah. Shar shel pikeach shinyagach shar shel cheresh shoyte v'kotan. A shar from a normal person that gored the shar belonging to a cheresh shoyte v'kotan. The cheresh shoyte v'kotan are people who are insane. And not only that, they don't have a father. They're Yesoimim. That's why you have to Mishnah. So if a normal person shar gored the ox belonging to a cheresh shoyte v'kotan, insane person or somebody under bar mitzvah, and they inherited this ox from their father that died. So chayiv, the normal person is chayiv to pay. That makes sense. You have to pay just because they're a cheresh shoyte v'kotan. Just because they're
Something.
You don't have to pay. No, you do have to pay. Let me 1 second. Alan's coming on. Hi, Alan.
He doesn't have to belong to anything.
Yeah.
Because he has nothing inside.
Right.
He has no sense for this.
Right. Hi, Alan. We just began. We're just the Mishnah. The Mishnah said that a shar of on Lamites.
Okay, sure.
Shar of a normal person that gored the shar belonging to a cheresh shoyte v'kotan, and this cheresh shoyte v'kotan is a yasam. They're orphans. So chayiv, the normal person has to pay for goring the ox belonging to the cheresh v'kotan. But if it was the reverse, the cheresh shoyte v'kotan, if it was reversed, the cheresh shoyte v'kotan, shenogach shor shel pikeach, that gored the shar of a normal person, chayiv, you're potter from paying. You're potter from paying, and it's not so clear why should they be potter from paying. I guess we don't fault them for not watching their shar. They're not capable of watching their shar, so they're potter from paying. Shar shel cheresh shoyte v'kotan. The next case of the Mishnah is shar shel cheresh shoyte v'kotan, right? Shenogach bezdin shenogach. Oh, let me just explain one thing. The cheresh shoyte v'kotan that gored the shar shel pikeach is potter from paying because since they're Yesoimim, the most important point over here is you can't collect from Yesoimim only from real estate. And since it's their animal, which is a tam that gored, and the tam pays megufai from the body of the animal, we don't collect from metaltalin from Yesoimim. Okay, so therefore, since they're Yesoimim, you don't collect from the metaltalin. That's why they're potter from paying. Okay, that's why a cheresh shoyte v'kotan that gored a shar of a normal person is potter from paying because they're Yesoimim and there's nothing to collect from. You can't collect from the animal itself because it's metaltalin. Now the Mishnah says case number 2. Shar shel cheresh shoyte v'kotan shenogach. If the shar of a cheresh shoyte v'kotan that did gore, so now Bezdin ma'amidin lahem apitropis. Bezdin appoints an administrator. Umi'idin lahem b'fnei apitropis, and they warn in front of the apitropis, hey, you're responsible of the ox belonging to the cheresh shoyte v'kotan, and therefore you might have to pay. Now this seems to be a contradiction. We just learned before that a cheresh shoyte v'kotan that gore you don't have to pay. So what's this part of the Mishnah? So now the Gemara says. Now the Mishnah says, Nispakeach acheresh. Let's say the cheresh became sane. Nishtat for hashoita, or the shoita straightened himself out. V'higdal hakotan, or the kotan grew up and now became over bar mitzvah. So even though their shar, while they were a cheresh shoita v'kotan, gored 3 times, but now the ownership changed of the animal because these people now grew up, or they became sane, they became a different person. Says the Mishnah, Chozer l'tamusai, the Mishnah says that the animal that goes back to being a tam. Divrei Meir, so says Rameir, because we have a halacha. Once you mishana the owner has a new mazel, and because of that, even if it was a muad, now it becomes a tam. Rabbi Yossi disagrees. The animal remains according to its chazaka, which means that if it was a muad, just because the boy became over bar mitzvah, the animal will still be a muad. Now the Mishnah says, shar ha'itzdadin, a shar that was trained to be a stadium type of shar. What does that mean? It was trained to gore a wild animal. It was trained to be a wild animal. So it's ein chayev misa. If it kills another human being in the stadium, in a show, it's not chayev misa. Normally, when a shar kills a human being, we kill the shar. But here, since he was trained to kill, so therefore we don't put the shar to death. Shenama, because the shar Torah tells us ki yigach, only when the shar actually gores on its own volition, and not if you cause the shar to gore human beings. So you are actually inciting the shar and controlling the shar to kill people, then you will not put the shar to death. Okay, now the Gemara asks the basic question that it seems to be a contradiction in the Mishnah. First, the Mishnah says, if a cheresh shait of a cotton shar that gores, you're potter. And then it says that if they have an administrator, the administrator has to pay. Hagufa kasha. The Mishnah is contradicting itself from one sentence to another sentence. Amrit, you tell us, shar shecheresh shait of a cotton shenogach shar shepikeach, the shar belonging to a cheresh shait of a cotton, an insane person, or somebody under bar mitzvah that gored the shar of a normal person. You're telling me it's potter from paying. Alma, we see from this that the reason why they're potter from paying, ein mamidin apitropis l'tam ligves megufad. You don't set up an administrator to pay out for this animal that it should pay from its body. Remember, the only time you pay a choiv, an obligation belonging to the Yisayimim, is only from property, not from movable objects. And a shar is a movable object. So therefore, since a tam pays from itself, from the body itself of the animal, that's how it pays out. So therefore, if a tam of a shar shait v'katan that did damage, and this shar shait v'katan obviously is an orphan, they will not have to pay. But that's the first part of the Mishnah. Ema Seifa, let us say the end of the Mishnah. Shar shait v'katan shenagach, the shar belonging to shar shait v'katan that gored bezdin mamidin lehem apitropis. They do point to the administrator umeidin lehem, and they keep presumably collecting from the apitropis. And when it's a tam, and if it did gore 3 times, they warn it and make it a muad bifn the apitropis, because the administrator takes over all the functions of the owner. So Alma, so we see from there that if the Yisayimim cheresh shait v'katan and have a shar, mamidin lehem apitropis, we would assign an administrator litam ligvois megufay, that if it was a tam, it would have to pay out from the body of the animal itself. So how do you resolve that contradiction in the Mishnah? One says you do pay, and one says you don't pay. Rava explained, this is what the Mishnah means to say. It's not that you pay out. It's not you pay out. An apitropis will not pay out for Yisayimim, especially if the animal is a tam. But if the mchuchsaku nakchonim, if this shar continues to do damage and gore, mamidin lehem apitropis, umeidin lehem bifnei apitropis, umashvin lehu muad. You need to set up an administrator, not to pay out, but to warn the administrator that this shar of the cheresh shait v'katan is doing damage. So eventually, it could become a muad. And once it becomes a muad doesn't pay from its body. Once it becomes a muad, it pays 100%. So therefore, that when it becomes a muad, it would have to pay from the real estate that it has. So that's why there's a benefit of having the administrator in place, so that if it's negeach a few times, not that we're going to collect for the damages it does, but eventually this shar is going to become a muad, and then if it does damage, you'll be able to collect from the aliyah, from the pay from the 100%, from the bank accounts. So the Gemara says a question: Maliyah man, whose bank account do you initially collect from? So Rabbi Yochanan says, Maliyas Yisayim, you collect from the possessions belonging to the Yisayim, right? Because this is an obligation that the Yisayim are responsible. It's their shar. It's not their father's debt. It's their shar, and it did damage. The Yisayim have to pay out. Rabbi Yossi Bachanina says the initial payout is Maliyas Apitropos. The administrator pays it out. He writes the check because now he's responsible for the shar. Eventually, he'll be able to recoup his losses as these Yisayim grow older. He'll be able to collect it from the estate. But initially, he takes responsibility and writes the check for the damage of this muad shar. So Rabbi Yochanan said, you collect from the Yisayim. You don't go to the apotropos, the administrator's bank account. You go from the estate. Says the Gemara, Mi Amar Rabbi Yochanan Hachi. Did Rabbi Yochanan say that you collect from Yisayim? V'hamar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav Asi. Rabbi Yehuda said in the name of Rav Asi, Ein niskaken lenichse Yisayim elim kein ribus oichlis behem. Very interesting. We do not make Yisayim pay. Bezdin does not go to the possessions of Yisayim to pay out anything, even if it's a star that their father wrote, right? Because they don't have to. You wait till they're older, and then they pay out their chayvus. So if a father left over young kids, and Lo Yaleinu, he passed away, all his debts are not paid out until the kids grow older, except one. Which case? If the father borrowed from a guy and he's paying out interest, and if you don't pay it out right away, interest is going to collect. And the Yisayim, if they wait till they get older, they'll lose out. So there, they pay that right away. Or let's say there's a woman, he left over a wife, and if you pay out the ksuba, she doesn't collect any food and her provisions to survive. You just write one check. But if she's if you're not going to pay that out and she's going to constantly take for her provisions, the Yisayim are going to lose out. In that case, we'd pay the ksuba right away. But it's mashma, you will not pay a mazik if their shar did damage. You wait till they get older. So why did Rabbi Yochanan say no? Right away, you collect from their shar that's a muad. You collect from the estate of the Yisayim. Rabbi Yochanan said that you do not collect. They don't pay out. They don't pay out anything from the possessions of Yisayim. Only a ksubas isha, or if the father borrowed from a guy. Answers the Gemara right. Epoch. You have to turn it around. Rabbi Yochanan says Maliyas Apitropos. Rabbi Yochanan says the one that writes the check for the mazik is the administrator, not the Yisayim. And Rabbi Yochanan says Maliyas Yisayim, and the Yisayim write the check right away. Amar Rava, so Rava says, ask the question. Because you had a question, a contradiction of one statement versus another statement of Rabbi Yochanan. You put Rabbi Chanina in the wrong driver's seat. In other words, you make Rabbi Chanina look bad, because Rabbi Yossi Bachanina now, if you turn it around, Rabbi Yossi Bachanina is the one that says the Yisayim write the check. But that's not true. Rabbi Yossi Bachanina, Dayanahi, he was a judge, v'noches l'umke dedina, and he always delved deep into the law. And really, that law makes pretty much sense that Yisayim should never have to write a check for anything. No matter what, you have to wait. If they're under bar mitzvah, you have to wait till they get older. So how could you say that Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina said, no, the Yisayim write the check? So the Gemara says, right, you're right. I'm not really. Don't turn it around. So Rabbi Yochanan was the one that said the Yisayim write the check. Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina says that the apotropos, the administrator, writes the check. Now, what Rabbi Yochanan said, you don't pay if they're under bar mitzvah, they don't have to pay for anything. Answers the Gemara, Mazik Shani. If their shore did damage, then that's the exception. Then we'll make them pay right away, because that's something against society, that a shore could do damage, and the owner of the shar doesn't have to pay. It's a breakdown in society. So therefore, Rabbi Yochanan will say that a mazik will be an exception where you would go to the Yisayimim and say you have to pay, even though you're under bar mitzvah. But 90% of obligations that they have, let's say the father made a pledge to a yeshiva, you will not take it, they will not have to pay it out until they actually get over bar mitzvah. And the Gemara says like this: Rabbi Yochanan Amar Maliyas Yisayimim. The Yisayimim write the check. The Amrit Maliyas Apitropis. If you say that the Apitropis, the administrator, has to write the check, we go to Amid Beis. Miman Nevele Avdi. Nobody's going to want to be an administrator because it's very hard to be an administrator. You're going to have to lay out the money for any damages that are incurred by the assignment. So therefore, that Rabbi Yochanan did not like that idea. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yosef Bachanina, Maliyas Apitropis, that Rabbi Yosef Bachanina says the Apitropis writes the check. Why? Because, okay, it's a temporary thing. Because when they get older, they're going to be able to get their money back from the assignment when they're older. So it's not such a bad thing. And also, the reason why we want the administrator, he should take his job seriously. If there's a shore belonging to the Cheresh Shaita V'Katan, he should figure out how to protect that shore that it doesn't do damage. So now says the Gemara a new thing. We said before that if it did damage the first time, our Mishnah says that the Apitropis, even though there's an administrator, we would not collect the tam would not have to pay out begufay because Yisayimim do not have to pay out from metaltalin. So remember that according to our Mishnah, if a Cheresh Shaita V'Katan, who are Yisayimim, that their shor did a damage, they will not have to pay out if their shor was a tam, because we don't collect from the Yisayimim from movable items. That idea, that concept is machlokes tanoim. That is really a machlokes tanoim, and there is a Tana that disagrees with our Mishnah. Tanya, we learned in the Brisa, shar shenischarshu ba'alav, a shar that the owner became let's say became a cheresh, became deaf and dumb, or the owner of a shar became insane. Or the owner went to another country and he left his shar unprotected, and then it did damage. Yehuda ben Nakaisa Amar Sumchas. Yehuda ben Nakaisa says, it'll always remain a tam because it always remains a tam because until you actually have to warn it in front of their owner. But there is no owner over here. Their owner became insane, or the owner is on a business trip. So they'll always remain a tam. The Chachamim says if there is no owner capable of accepting a warning, ma'midin lehem apitropis, they set up an administrator, u'mi'idim b'fnei apitropin, and they warn them before the apitropis. Nispakeach hacheresh nishat v'ashoit v'higla katan uvoy bala medina siyam. In all these scenarios, where the situation changed, the cheresh became normal, or the shaita became sane, or the katan grew up, or the owner of the shar came back from another country. It goes back to being a tam until until that you warn it in front of its owner, because the owner is now back. It remains what? It remains it's chazaka, which means that if it was warned and it became a mu'ud, it stays a mu'ud. Amrei. So the Chachamim wanted to understand. My hareu b'tamusai the Kamma sumchas. What did Rab Sumchas mean when he said in the beginning of the Brisa that it always remains a tam? It never becomes a mu'ud, right? Hamidik Tani Seifa, Chazal Tamusa. The Seifa says it goes back to being a tam, Mechlal Diyayid. It does become a mu'ud, even though the owner is not really present. He's not even here. He's in Medina Sayyam. So how did it become a mu'ud? So that the Seifa at the end of the Brisa says it goes back to being a tam. Elamai, what does it mean? Harehu betamuse means harehi bitmimose. Deloy mechasrin. What he meant to say is that collect tam. That means the apitropis does not pay out, although you set up an administrator, right, to make it into a muad, but as a tam, the administrator doesn't have to pay out because it's a tam. And therefore, ein mabidis apitropis l'tam ligvois megufai. That's alma. So we see from here that Yehuda ben Akaisa holds ein mamidin apitropis l'tam ligvois megufai, and that aligns itself with our Mishnah. But Chachamim says ma'amidin lem apitropis or me'idin lem b'fnei apitropis. And according to the Chachamim who argue on that, he holds that once you have an administrator in place, the administrator is going to pay even though it's a tam. Alma, we see from here, ma'amidin apitropis l'tam ligvois megufai. You do set up an apitropis for this animal to collect from its body. So that was the original, the beginning of the brisa of the machlokes. But then the end of the brisa, the Gemara just finishes up explaining the brisa, where the brisa says that if the owner comes back, or the owner became sane, or the kid grew up, so does it revert back to being a tam, or does it remain a mu'ud? So the Gemara wants to know, V'seifa b'mai kami palgi, what is the argument in the end of the brisa? Rishus mishana ika benayim. Once the ownership changed, so to speak, does that make a difference for the shor itself? Sumchas almosava, Sumchas holds Rishus mishana. Once the owner is a different owner, he's a different person. He became normal. So therefore, that makes the tam, that makes it going back. It changes the animal. The animal is now under a new mazel, so to speak, and therefore the animal becomes a tam. Even though it became a mu'ud while he was insane, now that he became sane, it reverts back to becoming a tam. Rabbi Yossi holds Rishus Eina Mashana, just because it changed ownership, just because the position changed, the sanity changed of the owner, it doesn't change anything about the shor, and the shor will remain. The shor will remain a mu'ud. So one more minute and then we'll stop. We're going to go down just a little bit. Tana Rabbana. Shor cheresh shoyte v'katan shnaga. The shor belonging to a cheresh shoyte v'katan that did gore. So here we have a new opinion. Till now, we said that Potter, Rabbi Yaakov, Mishalan Chatzi Nezek. Rabbi Yaakov, when he came across, Rabbi Yaakov would pay half a Nezek. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Yaakov Ma'avidit, hey, what did Rabbi Yaakov do? It's a shor belonging to Sher Katan Katan. And Rabbi Yaakov comes along and pays Chatzi Nezek on behalf of the Cher Shait of the Katan. Elaima, you have to change the brisa. Rabbi Yaakov used to say, Mishalim Chatzi Nezek, that the Cher Shait of the Katan has to pay half a Nezek. Now let's understand why. We learned Cher Shait of the Katan, Shenagach, would have to pay, would be Potter. Or if you hold that a cheresh of a katan shenagach will have to pay, so if it's a tam, you have to pay chatzi nezek. So then it's simple. Why should it be any different? So the Gemara says, "B'mayaskin, what are we talking about? Ibetam, if the cheresh of a katan's ox is a tam pshita, of course you pay chatzi nezek. The kuliyam nami chatzi nezek mishalim. Any short tam pays half a nezek, and this Tana Rabbi Yaakov holds once you're paying. So it's a tam, he pays chatzi nezek. So why didn't Rabbi Yaakov just say mishalem, you pay? Why did he have to say you pay half a nezek? B'mu'ed, and if the cheresh of the cotton's animal was a mu'ed, so let's understand. Of the shmira, if you made a shmira, if the cheresh of the cotton somehow made a normal shmira to watch it and guard it so it doesn't do damage again, and nevertheless it did damage, then you shouldn't have to pay anything at all. It's not their fault. If a strange hurricane blew down the barn wall and then it gets out, so you can't fault the cheresh of the cotton, so they shouldn't have to pay even chatzi nezek. The idoloi of the shmira kule, if the idoloi of the shmira, if they totally didn't watch the animal, kule nezek by l'shlumun, then they would have to pay the entire nezek because nobody did a shmira. The apitropis didn't do a shmira. The cheresh of the cotton certainly did a shmira. It's a mu'ad animal, so they would have to pay nezek shalim. So where did you come with this business of chatzi nezek? Amar Rava explained, la'olam b'mu'ad. Really, you were talking about it was a mu'ad animal. the cheresh shaita v'katan animal is a muad, why would you have to pay only half a nezek? The avdei shmir psucha v'loy avdei lei shmir meula. They did a minimal shmira, and they didn't do 100% shmira. They did like a quasi shmira. Rabbi Yaakov savalak Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yaakov holds like Rabbi Yehuda that what? Rabbi Yaakov has three opinions over here to understand it. The Amar, he said, Satama b'mkoima oimedis. That that it always remains, when you have a muad, it's really a tam plus you pay 100%. That's so it always remains to be a tam. So the part of it that's a tam always remains, although it's a muad, but it's still called a tam plus. Every muad is called a tam plus according to Rabbi Yehuda. V'savala Rabbi Yehuda, and Rabbi Yaakov also holds like Rabbi Yehuda. Amar muad sagile b'shmir b'chusa. That really with a muad, you don't have to do, although it's a wild animal, just do a minimal shmira. That's all you're required to do to protect yourself from a muad. So therefore, the mamidin lehem papitos tam ligris magufoy. That once they're a tam and it belongs to cheres shaita v'katan, it has to pay out because it's a tam. So basically, Rabbi Yaakov, and this is to understand Rabbi Yaakov, is very simple. The reason why you pay chatzi nezek, even though it's a muad, because you took off, you're allowed to protect yourself, not when it damages as a muad, by performing a shmira pechusa, a minimal shmira on it, that takes off that it's not really a muad. So when you take off the muad part of the animal, it remains a tam. And if it remains a tam, Rabbi Yaakov holds the tam still remains, and as a tam, it still has to pay. And therefore, Rabbi Yaakov said that this animal, that's a cheresh shaita v'katan animal that did damage, although it was a muad, but since you did a minimal shmira pchusa, that was enough. The Torah didn't require you to go overboard with a muad. You did a shmira pchusa, so it's not a muad. It'll still remain a tam, and Rabbi Yaakov holds that a tam of a cheresh shaita v'katan pays for the damage. Okay, that's where we'll stop. We'll stop by Omalei. Abaye, and we'll continue with this discussion tomorrow.